Another duly noted podcast comes to you from the Coach's Podcast Room at Spurrier's Gridiron Grill in Celebration Point. Okay, welcome into another duly noted podcast presented by Titan MRI from the Meldon Law Gator Studios. And as you can see, if you're watching, or you won't be able to hear that I'm not in the studios, but I will tell you that I am not there. I'm at home because, yes, I got COVID again. And unfortunately, it hit about like the last time. I can't believe I didn't get it during the pandemic. And then I've gotten it twice in the last year, but it's just the way it works, man. It's just a virus that keeps fighting back, and this one doesn't care if you've been vaccinated, doesn't care if you've had it before. There's no immunity to it. But look, I'm okay. I'm feeling way better than I felt Thursday and Friday, and we'll move on with everything we're doing. That's what we do. We plug away. Look, I did one podcast when I was really sick from COVID so what was that? That was in August, I think. Yeah. So this one, I feel fine. I just don't want to infect anybody, just in case. I know after 5 days, you're not supposed to be able to infect people, but there's no point in me showing up there. Zach doesn't want to get sick. I know Coach Spurrier don't want to get sick, but he'll be on the show today, live from the studio. So that'll be fun to talk to him. Robbie Andreu will join us for Yes, No, Way, or Maybe a little bit later as well. Don't forget Thursday, Billy Hinson from the Great Wall of Florida will join us. Of course, great offensive lineman at Florida. It'd be fun to talk to him. I can't wait for that conversation. And then we'll figure out next Monday. Coach Spurrier is heading on a cruise to the Mediterranean, and we'll talk to him about that. But we'll also have to get a guest for Monday. And then Thursday we'll have somebody else too. So we'll figure that out and we'll let you know. All right. There'll be occasional clearing of the throat because there's still a little bit of congestion built up here. You guys can live with it. All right. Let's get to our Process Service of Gainesville starting five, brought to you by Process Service of Gainesville, Scott Hart, and the great folks at Process Service. We appreciate them for being a sponsor here again through the end of the month. And then we'll hopefully be bringing a new sponsor on. We're still working on that. Let's start with number one, which is, and again, I like to say these are the five most important stories, I guess, at Florida, in University of Florida, because that's what the podcast is directed towards Gator fans, as we all know. And this is one that I got to be honest with you. It's the number one story for me is that Media Week, I should say, is only a week away, a week from today. And I know I'm not going to call it the unofficial start of the season because it's not, but it is interesting. And I do miss a little bit of it. I miss seeing a lot of people is the main thing I miss, that I haven't seen for a long time, but I don't see anybody anymore. So it's fine with me. I'm fine with it. It's good. I'll ask Robbie if he misses it at all. I will say this: I'm not going to miss it being in Dallas. It doesn't feel like that. That's going to be weird for the guys who've been like the Bob Holtz of the world and Chris Lowe's and guys like that, who are going to be in Dallas for SEC Media Days. There's got to be a point where you just go, "What? Why am I here again?" It's going to be weird, but it is what it is, and it's not my problem anymore. However, we are going to pay a lot of attention to it, and I'll tell you, if it was on this week, it would have been great. Unfortunately, it wasn't on this week, or I'm talking about the last 4 days. It wasn't on. Instead, nothing was on. Believe me, I watched everything. I felt like I was in Seinfeld because I watched nothing. Shows about nothing. A lot of Hitler, a lot of sharks, a lot of sitcoms. I even watched Beverly Hillbillies in London. Double episode. I watched that. They jumped the shark really bad, but it was funny. I got to be honest with you, it was really funny. But anyway, I'm fine. I'm getting better, and I hopefully in a couple of days I'll be able to get back on radio. So we'll see what happens. All right, let's get to number 2 on our Process Service of Gainesville starting five, and that is since it's SEC Media Days next week. We're going to do a lot of SEC Media Days type stuff. And we'll start with my picks. And we'll start with our top 8. That the way I would vote if I was there. Don't have a vote anymore. They should still give me a vote. Personally, I think they should. I don't have to be there to vote. Although I will say this. Sometimes you would go there and your vote would change based on the presentation the coaches gave, which I never really understood why I would let that influence me. Because I remember one year I decided, you know what? I think Vanderbilt is going to win like 8 or 9 games this year. Because Woody Woodenhofer was unbelievable. His presentation, talking to him after, talked to him in the bar the next night, I think it was, and we had a few pops, and I thought they were going to be great. I think they went 2-10 that year, and he got fired, but I can't remember. That was also, I think that was the same year that Mike DeBose says we're going to play for the national championship this year, and they went 4-8. He got fired, so that was a weird year. Anyway, here's my picks, and I'm picking Texas number 1. I think Texas is the best team in the country. I think they've got the advantage of having Georgia at home this year, and Florida, of course, at home. So I think it's set up for Texas. If they don't win it this year, who knows when they'll win it? But look, they've got good players, and so does number 2 Georgia. That's my number 2 pick. The media is going to go 1 Georgia, 2 Texas. I'm pretty sure most of the magazines have said that, and they tend to follow along with what everybody else says, like hurdling cattle into a barn. Because look, there's about 30 or 40 people that should be voting on the order of finish. They let anybody vote. Guy walks in an Alabama hat, they let him have a vote if he's got a credential for rolltide.com or a guy. I remember there was a guy that wore an Arkansas Hogs hat into the media room. He was working. He was a media member, Hogs Illustrator, or whatever it was. I don't know. Anyway. All right. So I got Georgia 2. I got Alabama 3. I still think they've got the talent to win the East. Or West. I almost said division. I just did say East and West. There are no divisions. Stop it, Pat. There are no divisions. They have enough talent to win the SEC, whether they do or not. And look, I think the jury's a little bit out on Kalen DeBoer. As good a job as he did at Washington, it's a different world where he's going now, and we'll see how it all holds up. But I do think they have the talent. I think those 3, and then my 4th pick, Ole Miss, I think all have similar talent. I'm not saying Ole Miss is as talented as Texas or Georgia, but they're not that far behind. Remember that falsehood that we kept issuing that Florida wasn't far behind Georgia? It turned out they were way behind, and they were getting further behind as they went. It just, they fell into Kyle Trask and Kyle Pitts and some of the other guys on that team. And hey, look, he did a good job getting some transfers in. But anyway, I just saw my brother sent me a picture of Dan Mullen's unfinished new house in Ponte Vedra. Man, I got in the wrong profession. Nothing like being a fire coach. You live high on the hog. All right, so Ole Miss is 4th. I got Missouri at 5th. Missouri's got a soft schedule. I don't think they're as good as their record. You got to give Eli Drinkwitz a lot of credit for that. Don't forget, Florida had them beat 4th and 17, and they just didn't play it right. Stupid. Stupid is as stupid does. 6th, I got Tennessee. 7th, LSU. And 8th, your Florida Gators. And I think that's where a lot of people are going to put them. They're going to look at the lineup and they're going to say, hey, they got a better team than they've had since Napier's been there. But look at the schedule. And they're going to, anyway. If they can finish 8th, that won't be the worst thing in the world. But I think they can finish a lot higher, and I think they can finish lower. The truth is, I really don't know what this team's going to do. I have my feelings about it, but a lot of times they've been wrong about Florida teams. They were never wrong about Spurrier teams. I will say that. And really, they weren't that wrong. Well, not too much on urban teams too. So the coaches that have done a great job, you're usually right about them. Anyway, let's get to number 3 on our process service of Gainesville starting 5, which is the second 8. And this is the I don't know, axis of evil. I don't know. What do you want to call this? The death march, the baton death march. But I mean, this is the teams that I think are going to finish in the second 8. And you got to start at the bottom, right? 16, Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt's going to be number 16. I get ready for it, guys, and they know it's coming. The first team probably ever to be number 16. Although I don't know when Big Ten Media Day is and when their vote is going to be. 15, I put Mississippi State. And I think it's a battle between them and Vanderbilt for the bottom. I think Arkansas is number 14. And think about that. 14 teams. You're 14th. And I think they got a pretty good team this year, Arkansas. Now they got to find the quarterback and get that worked out. But 13, I have Texas A&M. And again, Mike Elko did a good job in the portal, but he also lost a ton in the portal. And I think that's the biggest reason I have him so low. South Carolina at 12. Again, they lost a lot of good players, but who knows? 11, Kentucky. Kentucky is not the 11th best team in this conference, but that's where I put them because I don't know how you do it, how you stack them in there. It's the hardest thing that I think these guys are ever going to do, and most of them are just going to go, hey, whatever Phil Steele said, I'll put down. And then at 11, I have Auburn Tigers. All right, Auburn. And I'm sorry, at 10, I have Auburn. I had Kentucky at 11. And then 9, Oklahoma. Oklahoma's probably ranked too low. Auburn, I think, is going to be another year or two before they all that NIL stuff. I mean, they've got it all. They're bringing in recruits. They're doing a good job with it. And that's. But I don't know it's going to show up right away. They still have a long way to go with that. All right. So that is our number 3 on our process service of Gainesville starting 5. And that'll be it for the SEC portion of this first segment. And then on Thursday, we'll give you some other stuff that I'm interested in, like storylines and stuff like that about SEC Media Days. Let's get to number 4 on our process service of Gainesville starting 5. And that is there are 2 Gators you can root for in the Olympics. Oh, in basketball. Oh, who's on the dream team with LeBron and Anthony Edwards and those guys, who says he's the number 1 option on a team with LeBron? Okay. Well, there are 2 that are playing. Canyon Berry is in the 3-on-3. I didn't know there was a 3-on-3 in the Olympics till I saw that Canyon Berry was in it, which is exciting. And Canyon certainly, Florida doesn't. The Chiozza shot doesn't happen with Canyon Berry. Doesn't come up from behind and block that guy's shot from behind. And that was an unbelievable play, athletic play. The guy was a great athlete, good player. Just wasn't, I don't know. He was exactly what I hoped he would be at Florida. And again, they got within 1 game of the Final Four with him. So he's playing on the 3-on-3 tournament. That doesn't sound watchable. Except since it's the Olympics, you'll watch it. I don't watch it when it's on here, and I watched everything this week. But I didn't watch that. I turned it on for a minute, and I went, who are these people, and why am I watching it? No. It's like watching gym. Go to your neighborhood gym and watch guys playing 3-on-3. That's the equivalent, in my opinion. And then Nicolaitis, also for his playing for Greece in the Olympics. So he may play against LeBron and Edwards and all those guys. Although Durant hurt, so I don't know if he's going to play. So 2 Gators are playing basketball in the Olympics, and there's a ton of Gators, and we'll talk about them going forward, but there's a ton of Gators in it. Let's get to number 5 on our process service of Gainesville starting 5, and that is that for all the great players that Kevin O'Sullivan has done an amazing job putting guys into pros. So many of them are starting. Wyatt Langford has gotten hot now, and obviously Jonathan India is a guy who is having a big year again. And there's so many guys that he's put in the pros. Only 1 All-Star though from Florida, and that's Pete Alonso. Pete Alonso, I think, sitting like 248 18 homers, but when you're the Mets, so you kind of have to pick him. And he said if he got picked, he would go to the All-Star, or he would go to the home run contest. So I think that's one reason why he was selected. But good for him. Good for Pete. Maybe he can go win a third. He's won 2, right? Home run contest. Maybe won a third. But that brings me to our play of the weekend, brought to you by Campus USA. It's where I do my banking. It's where Coach Spurrier does his banking. And this was a play made by a guy whose name I'm never going to get right. So his name is Joey, and he plays for the Astros. And this was the greatest play you'll ever see. It was because he goes up to catch the ball, and it hits off his glove, but doesn't hit the wall, and then his glove hits the wall, and it comes out and he catches it with his bare hand. So that's pretty impressive. That's hard to do. Hard to have those kind of reflexes. And they initially ruled it a non-catch, and the Astros appealed, and when they looked at it, they said, "Oh yeah, of course it was a catch. Sorry, we thought it hit the wall," and it looks like it did. In real time, it did look like it touched the wall, but it didn't. Anyway, what a great play by Joey for the Astros. Leprofridi Photo Kapatip. I don't know what his name is. Anyway, what a great play he made. All right, so that'll do it for our process service of Gainesville starting 5. We'll take a break. We'll come back. Coach Spurrier will join us before he heads out to the Mediterranean. I can't wait to hear what he's got to say about that and other things, including SEC Media Days. Since he won't be here next Monday, we'll go ahead and talk to him today about what it's like for him, what it was like for him in the past. And again, appreciate Campus USA for sponsoring the play of the weekend. And we'll be back with Coach Spurrier, who's brought to you by Meldon Law, after we take this break on another Dooley Noted podcast presented by Titan MRI.
Great food, great atmosphere, a diverse menu, everything made from scratch, plenty of space, and locally owned. These are all the characteristics of a great restaurant, and you can find each and every one of them right here in Gainesville at Ballyhoo Grill. Ballyhoo Grill prepares all of their food fresh every day, from their salad dressing to their award-winning soups. Bring your family and enjoy dinner under the Tim Trebo Tiki Hut while listening to live music. Or if you're running low on time to eat out, they also deliver through Uber Eats, Bite Squad, and Postmates. A Gainesville staple that's been open for over 30 years. Check out Ballyhoo Grill on Facebook or at ballyhoogrill.com.
Titan MRI, North Central Florida's premier independent diagnostic testing MRI facility. At Titan MRI, we're focused on you, the patient, having a great customer experience. Our MRI equipment is modern and 75% quieter than any unit in its class. And our MRI unit has one of the largest openings of any of the newer high-strength MRI units, which allows comfortable scanning for potential claustrophobic and larger patients. At Titan MRI, we look forward to serving you.
Process Service of Gainesville offers a rapid turnaround on affidavits of service for Gator lawyers locally and nationwide. Our friend Scott Hart offers immediate responses on status requests and is a member of NAPS and FAPS. And he has been a part of the community for almost 2 decades. Need service? Call Process Service of Gainesville at 407-697-9592 or email shartgators, that's G8TR, at yahoo.com. And make sure you ask about the paralegal legal secretary bonus program. Okay, welcome back to another Dooley Noted podcast presented by Titan MRI from the Meldon Law Gator Studios. And of course, Meldon Law also brings you Coach Spurrier on Mondays, and we always love having him on here. He's like me. We've all had vacation plans and everything, and he's getting ready to go on another one, going over to the Mediterranean. That's pretty cool.
I tell you what, Pat, Steve Jr.'s wife, Melissa, I think, organized it. Triplets are going, and two girlfriends are going, and one of them's parents. So I think it's about 7 or 8. But it's just a week. Fly to Barcelona, get on the cruise ship, about 5 days, hit a couple of ports or so, and then come back to Barcelona and then fly back. So it should be a fun trip. I've never been on this one, so it'll be interesting.
But you've been to Europe before, right?
Yeah, I've been to Scotland and Ireland, and that's about it. England. I like to do the Iceland one. I haven't done that one, but really go to Alaska last year. Yeah, I'll recommend the Alaska cruise for everybody that's not been there.
Yeah, I've heard unbelievable things about it. We need to do that, but I still haven't. The only time I ever left the country is I went to Cancun for on a speaking engagement one time. I don't know. Maybe I need to get out more. I mean, I can't get COVID more than I've had it already in the last year. So, yeah.
Well, I tell you what, that COVID is going around, I think, quicker than maybe most, but hopefully it's not as severe. My grandson lives over in St. Augustine, got it, and so he's laid up for 3 or 4 days. But he's not in terrible shape, so hopefully he can bounce back quickly.
No, it's not fun, but it's not the worst thing in the world. And the worst thing is the isolation, because you have to be isolated. So let's talk a little bit, Coach. Did we talk about the Heisman House thing that you did several weeks ago? I don't know if it's been on since then.
But not too much. Tim Tebow was out there. We did a couple of little skits together. Desmond Howard also was there. Mark Ingram, Alabama running back. So we did one together with all those guys. Hopefully it'll be funny. We'll have to wait and see.
Well, so far they've always been funny. They've been great. I did want to talk to you because you're not going to be here next Monday about SEC Media Days, it starts a week from Monday, a week from today. And I talked about it in the first segment, but I just wanted to talk to you about it. And what do you think the perception is going to be of Florida? And my thing is, I think the lower they pick Florida, the better. It's just going to be another chip on their shoulder.
Yeah, I think there'll be a consensus. Would be around the middle somewhere. Now, like there's 16 teams now, so
somebody's got to be 16th, right?
Yeah, would be set down. I would guess the way they look at it right now. But we got potential. Gosh, we got ball players, I think, all over the place. So let's get them going, get some early surge, momentum, and maybe the team can improve as the season goes. That's one thing we always tried to do was, get better the next week. And John Wooden always would say, you got to be your best at the end of the season. And that's how you close out and finish in your quest to win championships.
Absolutely. And did you ever care where the media picked you, or did you ever use that as a positive or a negative, or?
Not really.
We were always wrong, right?
Yeah, we were usually first or second or something like that. But that's all. We would sort of pick ourselves, and if we play very well and coach well, we have a chance to win the division, the SEC, and possibly the national championship. But the division and the SEC was within grasp because we play just about everybody that's competing for that. Whereas that national championship, it's not fair the way we used to do it. And it wasn't fair for FSU either because they played this the last game. We played them last game. And so somebody knocked the other guy out just about. We were extremely fortunate to hear with one that we got the rematch, and all the teams that won right before us at the end there, they lost. Ohio State, Arizona State, and Alabama and Nebraska. They all lost between the end of the season and when we play FSU again. So we were very fortunate, and as Danny Wolf would say, God smiled on the Gators that last week.
It's funny because I don't know if your 95 or 96 team was a better team. There's an argument to be made either way because 95 went undefeated, and obviously they ran into a buzzsaw that I don't think it would have mattered who they were playing.
But all the other years, we were definitely in the top 12. All except maybe one year.
Maybe 92 you wouldn't have been, but every other year, yeah, I can't think of another one you wouldn't have been in the top 12.
Yeah, 92 team after winning the Gator Bowl. First number 10 in the country.
Well,
that was by far our less talented team.
Yep, absolutely. I was trying to think about this. When you were a player at Florida, how many teams were in the SEC? 10 or?
It's the 12. We had South Carolina and Arkansas.
Yeah, that was in '92. They had
it's also saying them after that.
So that made it 14. and now it's 6. It's unbelievable.
So it was 10.
Yeah,
Yeah.
10.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing how this league has expanded, and I keep seeing this story that they're talking about is Texas and Oklahoma, are they ready for the SEC? And I'm like, they're ready for the SEC. They got really good teams. What I don't think they may be ready for is the weekly grind that you have to put in this league, where every week you're playing somebody that's good enough to beat you.
Yeah, I think that's something that. Well, again, we don't know how good Kansas and Kansas State are. We see those names. We don't.
Yep.
Well, they're very average teams. But Kansas State won like 10 or 11 last year.
Yeah.
Then you got our state, and some of them are not noted football teams, but they play pretty doggone good ball, really all over the country, I think. And almost any given day, what team's not quite ready and the other one is, they can certainly beat you.
Yeah, no doubt about it. So I wanted to talk to you a little bit about what we've been watching on TV. I don't know how much TV you watch this weekend. I watched a lot, obviously, because I was laid up. But to see what Ben Shelton was able to do, to get into the round of 16, 30 years after his dad had gotten into the round of 16 at Wimbledon, that was a really cool thing.
Yeah, Ben is obviously a very good player, and he won, 4 matches that went 5.
I've said, yeah.
And then he finally lost the one just the other day. But yeah, he can get better. He's only 21, I think, 21, 22, something like that. So he can improve. He's got his, his dad, parents are there, help coach, and so forth. So he's on pace to be a big time player.
Yeah, well, I mean, you never know how that's going to work out. A guy coaching it seems to have worked out great for them. They seem to be on the same page with everything. And I mean, I know that you coach your son, and it's not always easy,
Well, no, he was not on the team.
That's right. He wasn't on the team.
Yeah.
But you coached him up to you coach.
Well, of course, Scotty was on the team. He was a walk-on wide receiver. And we got way ahead with Giddy Man. That was, which was like so many of our walk-on players here, Florida. But they did the deal, and they were great teammates, and they got ready to play. And when we got way ahead, they'd start warming up on the sideline. They knew their chance was coming.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how it all works out. I don't know if you watched any of the golf this weekend. Pretty amazing. Another Davis Thompson with the win. I mean, they are just churning them out in college golf, and just incredible how good they are.
And then that's true. Some of our players were real good 4, 5, 6 years ago. They had trouble making the cuts. These college kids, they train and they're well coached by the coaches in college, and they compete year round. So it's very competitive. What Tennessee is, Tennessee will go on.
Yeah, absolutely. So you're not going to play any golf over in Spain, are you? Or?
No, can't play on the boat, I don't think. But no, we're taking the minimum amount of clothes and things of that nature.
Shorts and Hawaiian shirts, right?
Yeah.
And we did one. We went on a cruise one time, and they had this competition where you hit it off the back of the boat. You hit the balls off the back of the boat. I did win a long drive on that. I just want you to know that. But that was when I was younger.
Everybody's improved. I know that the coaches will say the same thing. And every team has worked hard all summer. We know that.
Yeah. Hardest we've ever worked.
Best conditioned team I think we've ever had. But anyway, everybody's going to be better right now. And then at the middle of the season, we'll find out who's telling the truth about we're going to be better than last year. Yeah.
Yeah, this is the difference between coach and a lot of other coaches. Is that they always, like he says, they always say we've had our hardest working team ever, our best off season ever. Coach called me one year to tell me about the guys who didn't make the 12-minute run. So just to make sure that they got their names in the paper because they didn't make it, and they should be ashamed of themselves.
You got after it pretty good.
So we only had one or two that I couldn't make their required when we were pulling. So it was a little embarrassing. It's supposed to be. We don't kick them off the team, but they had to run after practice a little extra in preseason.
Yeah. So how much for a quarterback, for a receiver, for a lineman? It was all different times and number of laps. So I can't remember how that. Well, I went out there and watched it one morning at like 6 a.m.
Yeah, Chris Norman was always our best runner. He would have been an excellent distance, 80 or 400-meter guy.
Yeah.
But the receivers and DBs, they allowed 3/4 12 minutes. And that's pretty good running. And then the running backs, I guess the linebackers, that middle tight end group, they would run 6.5 laps, 6.5, and then 6 laps for the lineman. A lot of times, the lineman, offensive defensive lineman, they said do 6 laps. So they, if you train, it wasn't that difficult.
Yeah, but I mean, you had to get ready for it, right? You couldn't just show up and say,
you got to train. Yeah, you got to do some distance running. Yeah, and that jab you through the season because you're in that good shape.
I always tell people you don't get in shape during the season. You have to be in shape when the season starts. You're not going to get bigger and stronger and faster. By the time the season starts, you are what you're going to be.
Yeah, John Wooden, UCLA basketball coach, said conditioning will pay dividends before the first half is over. You can tell those teams that are in top shape. And that was one of his secrets for being so successful at UCLA. And they were sort of full court press, Colgate. They had that zone full court press. So they had their own special defense. And they really didn't care what the other team did too much because that's what we're going to do, and here's how we're going to do it. And that was a big reason they won 10 national championships in 12 years. And nobody will do that again. Although the UConn's on a pretty good roll right now.
Well, 2 in a row, yeah. I mean, but it is hard to win as many as they won. It was pretty amazing what they were able to do. Of course, when you got Bill Walton and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar and some of those guys, Sidney Wicks was a great player, beat that JU team. I remember that, watching that game. That was deflating. I was a big JU fan back in those days. All right, Coach, we'll let you go. And enjoy your All right, and we will be back with more of another duly noted podcast presented by Titan MRI from the Meldon Law Gator Studios right after this break.
Meldon Law has been serving personal injury victims since 1971. In those days, Jeffrey Meldon's presence as an attorney in the music scene dubbed him with the nickname the Hippie Attorney. And although times have changed, 2 things haven't: our commitment to bettering our community by helping the injured,
Albert, are you ready to go to the game?
and our love for the Florida Gators.
If you bleed orange and blue, Meldon Law is the firm for you.
Adams Rib Company has been a staple of Gainesville for more than a decade and a staple of the Dooley house ever since Kelsey's teeth came in. The first time I walked into Adams, I told my daughter that the green beans are always a test of a great barbecue restaurant, and they were perfect. You know about the ribs that melt in your mouth, and my favorite, the turkey plate. But be sure to go in on Fridays for Nana's Fish Nuggets. They will melt in your mouth. Adams Rib Co., a Gainesville great. Another duly noted podcast comes to you from the Coach's Podcast Room at Spurrier's Gridiron Grill and Celebration Point. You can watch and listen to us on Facebook and YouTube for every podcast that we do on Mondays and Fridays at 2 o'clock. Listen to the podcast whenever on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Overcast, any of the other 39 platforms where you can find this podcast or your favorite podcast. Remember to like, follow, and subscribe. If you have any questions or comments, leave them in the comments section below or call me if you want to do some advertising at 352-317-3444. Okay, welcome back to another duly noted podcast presented by Titan MRI from the Meldon Law Gator Studios. Always great on Mondays when we bring on Robbie Andreu for our Big Mills Cheesesteak Yes, No, Where, Maybe. He and I are both coming to you on the Zoom line, the Big Mills Cheesesteak Zoom line. And we appreciate him for doing it. Robbie, I will tell you one thing.
COVID's not fun, but this was a bad weekend to be sitting around watching TV. There was nothing to watch.
You're right. The golf wasn't worth watching. The guy ran away with it.
Yeah.
No drama at all on Sunday. Even though he played great. There really wasn't a whole lot to watch unless you were watching Major League Baseball. Your Braves did well.
They did. I was very happy with them. And I did watch just that game. But, I mean, I watched more baseball than I've watched all year. I watched more tennis than I've ever watched. You know, it was but what are you going to do? There's a lot of shows about sharks and Hitler. I've noticed that. Not together. Not the same line.
They don't really go together.
But there's a lot of shows about sharks as you're flipping around, and then you'll stop and you'll see Hitler's plan for taking over Iceland, whatever, you know. And
Great.
stop and watch it for 2 minutes. Yeah, I like it.
I got a good series for you to watch on the History Channel, Pat. The
Okay.
Food That Made America. It's really good.
I have seen that. I have watched. Well, believe me, there's nothing I didn't see this week. I had a 4-day weekend. I watched everything there was to watch.
How you feeling?
I'm feeling okay. I'm still a little congested, but hopefully we're on the back end of this thing. So it is what it is. You know.
Just don't spread it around.
Well, that's why I'm not with you in the studio.
Okay.
All right, it's time to play Yes, No, Where, Maybe with Robbie Andreu, brought to you by Big Mills Cheesesteaks. Street dining done the right way. Go in there and say you listen to Robbie on the podcast, and you can get free fries with your order.
What a deal.
Cheesesteaks are great there, right?
Yep,
They're
they are.
Yeah. All right, let's start out, Robbie. I was looking at the standings today, okay? So, number one, the Twins right now would be a wild card team. Do they hold on to that and stay a wild card team going forward?
I'll say maybe, Pat. I'll say this. I'm really happy about the way things have happened. They've gotten guys back healthy, and their hitting lineup is coming out. Their pitching's been okay. But again, injuries hit again. Royce Lewis is hurt again. Correa got hit on the hand the other day. So it's like they cannot stay healthy. You know, they're pretty good, but so it's going to be a real shaky maybe that they'll stay in there because the injuries are going to be a factor again. But I'm pleased with 11 games over 500.
Yeah.
500 was the goal for me, like about a month into the season. So I'll take it. I'm happy.
Correa hit that grand slam, and they still couldn't come back all the way. I mean, they
7 months more to have.
But how did the Guardians get so good?
I don't know, but I've watched them a little bit this week, and their pitching is good. Their hitting lineup is really intimidating. Like in the middle of the lineup is really tough. So, but yeah, they weren't very good last year, but they've really come back this year. They look good.
How many of the they named all the All-Stars? How many of them, probably percentage, do you think you have heard of?
I did go over the list. There's not 10%, maybe 15, 20, maybe 20.
That's probably close to 30, but even then, I mean, there were a lot of guys. They're raving about this one player, this shortstop from the Orioles, and I'm like, I've never heard of him.
I've never heard of the guy either.
Yeah.
So,
but again, I don't watch Oriole games.
yeah,
So.
but we don't follow baseball like we did when we were kids, Pat. Playing dice baseball and keeping up with the stats and reading box scores. We don't do that anymore.
You know, it's funny. When we were in Palm Beach. Palm Beach Post was there. Of course, it's another Gannett paper, so it's all the same.
Yeah.
Cookie dinner. But they had box scores. And I couldn't believe it. I was like pouring over it. And they had letters to the editor.
I like those too.
Which they don't have any.
Pat, and you work there, but the great thing about the Jacksonville Journals, the PM paper that we grew up with, you had all the box scores there when you got the paper in the afternoon. It was great. It's great.
Yeah, you would you'd pick it up and the Braves played on the West Coast, and you could see what Mike Lum did. You know,
Yeah. Look,
Errol Evans hit a homer last night. All right, number 2, Robbie. Vanderbilt will be the first team ever selected 16th in the SEC when SEC Media Days comes around a week from today.
I'm going to say absolutely, Pat. Yes. Who else would you pick to be last when that?
Mississippi State's the only I could even consider. Yeah.
Yeah, and even that, they're going to be at least a little much more competitive, I would think. But, Vanderbilt, after that first year under him, they looked like they were good. They beat Florida, even though Florida didn't play with the crap in that game.
Florida kind of.
But then last year, they just, went back down the hole again. The rabbit hole, whatever you want to call it. They just weren't any good again. And I don't see them being much better this year. So 16 is where they'll start.
I tell you, I picked mine, my 1 through 16, and it's hard because I'm like, wait a minute, I think I have Kentucky 12th, and what am I? That's not well. But somebody's got to go 1 through 16. But the bottom line is there'll be multiple ties.
Where did you put Florida? About 8?
I had them 8. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's probably right.
Most people are going to put them, but
yeah.
I think they could well finish higher. They could finish lower.
Yeah, I do think that the roster looks better. I think they're going to be a lot better this year. Will the record indicate it? We'll see. The schedule is tough, but they got those 7 home games, so never discount that.
No, absolutely not. Yeah, I was looking this up today, actually, Robbie. Florida opened as a 6-point home dog to Miami, okay?
Yeah, that's surprising to me.
Now it's down to 2.5, and I bet you by the time the game starts,
yeah,
Florida will probably be favored by 1 or something like that.
That's the thing I don't get about Miami and Florida were pretty much considered the same at the end of last year. Both coaches on the hot seat. Now Miami is considered a team on the rise for some reason. I don't get it.
Yeah, and it's like the recruits aren't going to be that big a factor.
No, not at all.
Even though they've done a pretty good job with that.
Yeah.
They're just putting a lot in Cam Ward. I will say, see how it all goes. Just watch the game.
Soon enough. Why not soon enough? Just watch the game.
See, a lot of our references. First of all, most people don't know why I ask you about the Twins all the time. Because you're a Twins fan. That's why I ask you about it. Most people don't know, just watch the game, Robbie. That's when you kept peppering Spurrier with questions.
After practice one day.
Because you had all these stories you had to write, and finally you said, just watch the game, Robbie.
He got frustrated. Time to head to the house.
Finally, number 3, Robbie, on Yes, Nowhere, maybe brought to you by Big Mill's Cheesesteak. You are melancholy for SEC Media Week.
Absolutely. No way. I was thinking about the fact we don't have to go out there anymore. It was great. And I was thinking, God, if I had to go out there, it gave me chills almost thinking about it. Going back to, like when Ray McNulty came back to the TU, breaking back into prison. That's what it would be like. You got out. Now you're going to break back in. You're doing Brooks. Yeah.
From Shawshank, yeah.
Yeah, he broke back in.
Yeah, there are some things I do miss about it.
Yeah.
But overall, I don't.
No.
And not only that, Robbie, can you imagine if we had to go to Dallas this year?
Oh, I know. Then you can't drive out there. You got to worry about flying out of Gainesville, and I mean, I don't miss that at all. Spring meetings, I don't miss that at all. I cringe thinking about it was like the last few years.
I never had to cover that, but
yeah, no, but good thing you did.
Yeah. All right, we're gonna let you go. Appreciate it.
So, I hope you feel better.
All right, thanks.
See it.
All right, appreciate Robbie so much for coming on the show. And actually, Robbie and I were supposed to he was going to come in and do it live because they're trying to do this story on us for the Main Street News or whatever it is. And they wanted to get pictures. So Robbie was going to come in and do it live, but then I called him. I said, ain't going to work, Robbie. Somebody's got problems. And that would be me. Anyway, always love when Robbie does Yes, Nowhere. Maybe. I know you may hear a little echo in some of those answers because we had a little bit of problem, but we'll fix that and be good with it on Thursday. Because we'll do Yes, Nowhere, maybe with Billy Henson. I'll look forward to that. I got to come up with some really good ones for him. Like, have you ever eaten a whole hog? That would be a good one. He doesn't know what he's in for. Let's get to our Adams Ribco Gator of the weekend. And we talked about him a little bit before. Oh, we could talk about Adam. We love talking about Adam, but we've talked about Ben Shelton a little bit before with Coach Spurrier, and it was so cool to see him get into the round of 16 30 years after his dad had done it, and was recognized. And of course, if you were able to watch it, maybe you've seen it on Twitter when they're interviewing him afterwards. And they do a live interview with the whole crowd can hear. And he looked at they announced that his dad had gotten in 30 years ago to the Final Four, or not the Final Four, but the Sweet 16. And he said, we're back, big dog. And that was a cool moment. That was one of those chill moments. And Ben Shelton, let me tell you what, like Coach said, he has got a chance to really be, I think he's already in the argument for the greatest tennis player to ever play at Florida. I mean, men's tennis, Mark Merklin maybe had a pretty good pro career. I'm trying to think of somebody else who really has done a whole lot. But he certainly is the real deal. So, and he's also our Adams Rib Gator of the weekend, and that is quite an honor, Ben. I know you've won it before. You're a multiple winner. We should have a 5-timers club like they do on Saturday Night Live, where you get a jacket after you get in 5 times. We can do that. I don't know if anybody's been in 5 times. Parker Valby and Shelton and Caglione may be a 5-timer, which brings me to our Leonardo's and Millhopper quick picks. And you guys, I'm going to stay away from women's basketball. I know my lane to stay in because, well, and you don't know your lane to stay in, but I put a game out there and you guys almost all missed it. Almost everybody missed it. I think 2 guys got it right. They picked Caitlin Clark and the Fever. You give me fever to win. So I'm giving you one, and it's not easy. And a lot of you are probably going to get it wrong, but I'm still giving it to you because you got a whole 5-day period to gestate on it and maybe look up some stuff and figure it out. But the draft, Major League Baseball draft, is Sunday. Big day for Sully. Not only his players getting drafted, but players that he's hoping he'll hold on to getting drafted. We'll see how that all goes. But he's got it all figured out. I mean, you kind of slot everything, and if this guy goes, then this guy will get this scholarship, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, so the draft is Sunday. What pick will Jack Caglione be? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I can count all the way to 10. But whatever you want to make them, you pick a number. I've heard 5. Personally, I think it ought to be 1. I can't understand why it's not 1, to be honest with you. But I mean, like, anybody who hits the ball that hard that often probably should be the number 1 pick. But anyway, what pick is he going to be? Is the question I have for you. That's all you got to do is answer that. All right, I'm going to take a break because my stupid dog is barking. Okay, now it's time for our Hesser and Kipke 3 things. And of course, Hesser and Kipke is a Gainesville law firm specializing in the areas of family law and workers' compensation. If you're a loyal listener of this show, you know who we are by now. If not, Google the firm, check out the reviews, and hear what our clients have to say. Ken and Jennifer can be reached 24/7 via call or text at 352-339-9920. That's 352-339-9920, Hesser and Kipke. And we appreciate Hesser and Kipke. All right, number 1 on 3 things. Davis Thompson wins the golf tournament, as we know. If you watched it, or if you didn't watch it, you probably figured it out by now. But anyway, he wins at the John Deere. Field wasn't great, I'm trying to figure out why there weren't more players playing, but I guess everybody's figuring we'll play this week and then go play the British Open. A lot of guys are going to go to the Scottish Open and play over there too, so we'll see what happens. But this was the stat that Mark Weiser from the Athens paper put out there that I thought was really interesting. Chris Hack is the coach at Georgia, has been there since '96, and he's had a lot of success. He's done a heck of a job there. They've been very good, won 2 national titles. And Davis Thompson is the 12th player that he coached at Georgia that's won on the tour. That is an incredible number. It's a number that, it's hard to reach. Not 12 wins, 12 different player. And it started with Bubba Watson, was the first guy who won, of course, a couple of Masters, among other things. But that was just a mind-boggling stat when I saw it. And we'll see. I know Buddy Alexander, I guess DeMarco, Camilo, Billy, of course, and there may have been another one. I think he's had 4 or 5 different winners, and of course JC is going to have some that are going to win on tour. But I got a long way to go to catch 12. 12 seems like an awful lot. All right, number 2, Hesser and Kipke 3 things. I saw this headline on a story today, or yesterday actually, and it was, "Is Bronny the new Tebow?" And they were talking about how LeBron James' son is getting publicity he doesn't deserve. And I was like, wait a minute now. That's a little unfair to Tebow. not the LeBron Jr. And again, you guys are the ones doing you're the ones having a love affair with him. I watched a little bit of the game because he was in the game, and I watched it and I went, hey, I want to see what he does. And I go, I'm unimpressed. But then I go, hey, Colin Castleton's playing. I'll stay with it for a while. He didn't do a whole lot. He got a lot of rebounds though. Anyway, Tebow was a starting quarterback for a team that got to the playoffs and won a playoff game. And he had all these great come from behind wins, and they did Saturday Night Live skits about him. Look, did he get more publicity than his resume? Yeah, of course he did. You know why? He was the most popular player in the NFL at one point in his life. It just happens that way. I don't know why you got to push him in the ground all the time. People are always trying to bring Timmy down. Not me. I appreciate him and appreciate everything he does for our golf tournament. Appreciate everything he's done for me in my life. And I just think the world of him. And I'm not going to be one of those kind of people. LeBron James' son, don't know him. I look, I know what they did there. It's, they gave him a guaranteed contract for the next, what was he like, the fourth to last pick in the draft? Guaranteed big contract. I don't know. It just, we know who's running the Lakers, okay? All right, finally, number 3 on the Hesser and Kipke 3 things. I don't get many chances to brag about my Braves this year, but I was very happy that they beat the Phillies the last 2 games. And Ken, I'm sorry, because I know you're a Phillies fan. I know you're not worried about it, too. When we got beat Friday night and looked like crap doing it, we were 10 full games behind. And that was upsetting, and that was kind of a white flag moment. But when the next 2, including shutout last night, was it a shutout? Yeah, shutout last night or yesterday, and pulled within 8. I mean, I still don't think the Braves can catch them, but there is an opportunity here because the Braves played the Diamondbacks. The Diamondbacks are a pretty good team. I mean, they're 500 and they're in the playoff chase, but the Phillies have to play the Dodgers in a series. So hopefully, maybe we can chip away at that lead a little bit. And also the Red Sox beating the Yankees, winning that series. That's my American League team. And I know I'm allowed to have both. Now, you can't be a fan of 2 teams from this or from different divisions in the SEC or the Big 12, but you can be fans of 2 different teams in 2 different. I'm a bigger Braves fan. Anyway, that part of it was a good weekend. All right, that's our Hesser and Kipke 3 things. Let's move on to our Swamp Games of the Week. And, of course, brought to you by the Swamp Restaurant, where you can go get all kinds of great drink specials and all kinds of other stuff. I mean, the food's great there. Everything's great there. We love the Swamp, and I know my daughter does too. I see it on her credit card bill all the time. Anyway, let's go to our Swamp Games of the Week. Tuesday, now we were talking about LA at Philadelphia. These games are in Philly. But Tuesday's game, Dodgers at Philly on TBS, and then Wednesday's game is on ESPN. So, I mean, this is a huge series. These are 2 of the best teams in baseball right now, and it's also huge for me as a Braves fan. But I can't – I want to watch the games, and I'll root for the Dodgers only because the Phillies are the team standing in my – I don't have a problem with the Phillies. I have a problem with the Dodgers. But the Phillies are the team in the way of us. I mean, I don't mean they're in the way in a nuisancey way. I just mean they're in the way, waiting for us to get to that level. We're going to have to win some games. So those are the 2 best games. I did want to mention Wimbledon too. We talked about Wimbledon, but I didn't want to tell you when Wimbledon's on, because just turn your TV on. It's on. It's always on. This morning I wake up and I go, and I'm doing all this stuff and writing my back 9 column for WRUF, and I look at my I say, hey, let's. It's like 11:30. I go, let me just make sure nothing's happened. Let me put it on ESPN. Oh, Wimbledon's on. Okay, yeah. Well, I don't care anymore. Shelton's out. So let me go see what's on ESPN too. Wimbledon's on there too. It's a different match on. Now, if you love tennis, this is a great time to be alive. But I don't dislike tennis. I don't know any of the players. Now that I have been Shelton, I do kind of get fired up. I was watching the Coco Gauff match, where she kept looking at her coach's box, begging them for instructions because they were like, just play. You could see them under their lip go, just play the freaking game. That wasn't a good look for her. All right, and also if you're still have Caitlin Clark fever, your 9-13 Indiana Fever will be playing Washington on NBA TV Wednesday at 8:00. Like I said, they're 9-13, but they would be in the playoffs today. And I was curious. I don't follow the WNBA. I get bombarded with stuff about Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese all the time, and it's fine. It's fine. And I love women's sports. I'm just not a big fan. And maybe it's because Florida's never been great in women's basketball. They've been good for brief periods of time and the brief pockets. They've never been great. And for them to be great, it's going to be hard because of the conference they're in and everything. But anyway, the point I was trying to make was that they're 9-13 and they're in the playoffs right now. If this season ended right now, I don't know when it ends. I don't know how many games they play, but 12 teams in the league, 8 teams get in. That's a pretty good deal. Now, if you don't make the playoffs, you should probably be fired. I don't know who the coach is of any of the teams. Maybe I should start paying attention to it because I could have watched some more things. But look, I watched all the basketball, college basketball, women's college basketball, the tournament. I watched all those games, the Clark Reese game, all that. I watched it all. That was exciting to me. WNBA just didn't do it for me. Maybe it will one day. I will say this. When they were saying that Caitlin Clark was going off and they were coming back, I was like, hey, maybe I'll flip it over. But I was watching the boys. Now, if you haven't seen the boys, I'm just going to give you a caveat on it. I think it's tremendous, and I think it's almost a dark comedy. But don't watch it if you don't like gore and don't like sexual innuendo. And there's another thing I want to say, but I'm not going to say it because it'll just tick off half of the United States. But anyway, I think it's great. I watched the last 6 episodes of the 4th season. So I was watching that. I didn't want to get off it, so I didn't go over and flip it over to the game. Again, I'm sick, so I have excuses. All right, that's going to do it for another edition of Another Duly Noted podcast presented by Titan MRI. From the Meldon Law Dooley Dome Gator Studios today. I will be back Thursday with Billy Henson, and we'll be doing it again from the house. And then Monday, hopefully everything will be resolved, and I'll be okay, and I can come into the studio and do a normal show like a normal person. But Zach's had to put together this thing, and I appreciate him for doing it. We'll be back on Wednesday or Thursday with another show. Until then, I am Pat Dooley. I am deep. I am way back, and I am out of here.